Sometimes people leave our lives quietly, with no clear explanation, leaving an emptiness that hurts more than any fight or argument. The kind of goodbye you don't understand feels like a puzzle that haunts your heart and confuses your mind. In this video, we're going to unpack that delicate process, from the signs you missed to the rebuilding that happens after the pain. If you've ever lost someone like this and found yourself wondering why this video's for you, get ready to see that absence in a new light and maybe find a way toward peace and understanding. Topic 1. The silent shock of the goodbye in your own way. When someone leaves without saying much, the noise that's left behind is silence. It's weird because there were no screams, no fights, just an empty space where there used to be presence. It's like the clock stopped, but everything keeps moving, forcing you to keep going. Anyone who's been through this knows, the first hours feel like a blur, and your mind starts hunting for answers like you're searching for something lost inside your house. Then come the questions that sting. What did I do wrong? Could I have stopped this? You replay conversations, memories, moments, trying to find a detail that explains the unexplainable. It's almost like rewinding a movie scene looking for a blooper, but the story is yours. And your heart tightens because maybe the answers just aren't available yet, which is harder to accept than the actual goodbye. The crazy thing is, often the leaving isn't marked by some big event. It's subtle, almost polite, but it leaves a devastating impact. Like a door closing slowly without slamming, but still separating two worlds. And that is the point that opens up a deeper understanding. Sometimes the moment someone leaves starts long before they actually go. Topic 2. The signs you didn't want to see. The truth is, most of the time, the signs were there. Small, discreet, sometimes hidden by routine or our own wishful thinking that everything was fine. It's like a drip in the roof, at first barely noticeable until the day the bucket can't catch it all anymore. Maybe he started texting less, smiling in a mechanical way, or being there physically but absent in spirit. The problem is, the human heart loves to make excuses to protect what it loves. You notice the message took longer to come back, but think, he's probably just busy. You see plans together getting fewer, but say to yourself, it's just a phase. And in this effort to save the picture you built, you end up ignoring signs that, deep down, were screaming the truth. The most painful and ironic part is realizing that if you de-recognized those signs earlier, maybe the goodbye wouldn't have been so sudden. But here's the catch. Seeing is different from wanting to see. And that difference keeps many people in the dark, even when the light is on. Topic 3. The weight of what's left unsaid. There's a quiet force that destroys more relationships than fights. What's left unsaid. Words swallowed, feelings bottled up, fears pushed down. Maybe he carried something for weeks or months that he never found space to share. And it's not that he didn't want to. Sometimes the struggle is just putting feelings into words. At first, this silence might even feel like peace. But over time, it turns into distance. It's like a suitcase left in the corner of the room. The longer it stays, the harder it is to open. Small frustrations, misunderstandings, and insecurities piled up, without honest conversations to lighten the load. Until one day, the weight became unbearable for one side. The most curious thing is that often this unsaid could have been solved with something simple. A phone-free talk, a dinner just to listen, or even a sincere message sent on a random day. But when that doesn't happen, the relationship quietly walks toward a point of no return. Topic 4. When absence speaks louder than presence, sometimes it's not necessary for someone to say they're leaving. Their body has gone long before the words. I think he was there, but his energy wasn't. You could feel it in the distant look, the short answers, the way he avoided certain topics. Being physically present doesn't mean there's a real connection, and that is something many realize too late. Over time, absence starts to speak louder than any conversation. He might be sitting next to you on the couch, but his mind was somewhere else, maybe a place you couldn't reach. It's the kind of feeling that doesn't scream but slowly eats away like a thread wearing thin until it snaps. When absence becomes routine, the small daily interactions lose their color. Breakfasts together no longer have laughter, texts become automatic, and even silence stops feeling comfortable. And the weirdest thing is, By the time we notice this distance, it's often too late, because absence, even silent, has been screaming for a long time. Topic 5. The moment he decided to leave. The decision rarely happens in the heat of an argument. Usually, it's quiet, matured through solitary thoughts and small disappointments piling up. He didn't wake up one day and just decide to leave. That moment was built over months, maybe years, of things left unsaid. Sometimes it only takes a second to seal something that had been decided inside long before. It could have been a conversation that went nowhere, a look that didn't find a return, or even a subtle gesture showing there was no longer room for him there. Small things, but together they form a full stop. The crazy thing is, most of the time, the person left behind doesn't notice the exact moment the decision was made. While you were still believing in fixing things, he was already imagining life without you. And that mismatch is brutal, because when his body finally walks out the door, his mind and heart have been gone a long time. Topic 6. The answers that never come. When he left, silence took over the space once filled with messages, laughter, and even little arguments. And at first, your mind went into overdrive searching for a reason, like finding the right answer could bring peace. But his absence left no clear clues, just a trail of echoing questions. You go back over old conversations, looking for signs you might have ignored. You analyze photos, remember glances and gestures, trying to piece together a story that makes sense. It's like assembling a puzzle with pieces that don't exist. And that relentless search only makes you feel like something important slipped through your fingers. The hardest part is realizing the answer doesn't always come. And when it doesn't always heal. Because sometimes the lack of explanation isn't about you, but about what he couldn't face inside himself. And accepting that is almost like learning a new language. It takes time, patience, and it hurts. Topic 7. The invisible impact in daily life. His absence doesn't shout, but it whispers all the time. It's at breakfast, when the chair beside you stays empty. In your phone, when you unlock it out of habit and don't find his name in your notifications. Little routines that were invisible now carry a silent weight. The songs you used to listen to together get a bittersweet taste. Some you avoid, others you play over and over like you're trying to squeeze hidden meaning out of them. Even the routes you take through the city change. That coffee shop on the corner, that specific street. Everything seems to carry a story left unfinished. This impact can't be measured in tears, but in how you rearrange your life to avoid bumping into memories of him. It's almost invisible to anyone else, but inside it feels like every small gesture is a constant negotiation between feeling and moving on. Topic 8. The truths time reveals. Time, that old patient teacher, always brings answers. ... But not right away. At first it's like looking at a puzzle with missing pieces. You revisit conversations, analyze looks, recall moments, trying to find a detail that explains everything. But most of the time, clarity doesn't come in a rush. It arrives when you've stopped searching. Sometimes the truth is simple. It wasn't about you, but about him, his choices, his insecurities, his fears. Other times, it's bitter. Maybe you ignored signs. Maybe you believed too much in what you wanted to hear. Time exposes what was hidden, but also shows what you weren't ready to see. And when that clarity finally arrives, it changes everything. That scene that seemed romantic now sounds like a silent plea for help. That phrase that felt trivial now echoes like a veiled goodbye. But interestingly, that's when something new starts to form inside you. ... Topic 9. The rebuilding of the one who stayed. Rebuilding yourself after someone leaves isn't about going back to who you were. It's about discovering who you can be now, after all you've been through. It's like renovating an old house. Some walls fall, others get reinforced. And some rooms get new windows so light can come in. At first, there's an uncomfortable emptiness. Silence seems to scream, and your routine has weird gaps where presence used to be, but it's in that space that change happens. Small acts become wins. Cooking for yourself, laughing alone at a movie, even making plans without waiting for anyone's okay. That's more powerful than it seems. Over time, you realize the absence that hurt so much opened space for things that didn't fit before. New friendships, projects that had been shelved, or even that trip you always left for one day. The rebuilding is quiet but transformative. When you notice it, you realize your story didn't end there. It just took a new direction. Topic 10. The moment you realize it was a blessing. At first, it's hard to call something that knocked you down a blessing. But one day, almost without noticing, you look back and see it all differently. You remember pointless fights, cold looks, the feeling of walking on eggshells, and realize that wasn't love, it was emotional survival. That moment usually comes subtly, like noticing you're laughing more, sleeping better, or breathing easier without that weight on your chest. It's almost like waking up from a nightmare and seeing the sun's already up. And suddenly, what felt like loss starts tasting like relief. That's when you get it. It wasn't abandonment, it was freedom. Its leaving didn't close doors, it opened horizons. You just couldn't see it because you were still stuck in the storm. And when you realize that, you start seeing what you really deserve. And, more importantly, what you'll never accept again. Topic 11. Starting over with more awareness and strength. Starting over isn't just going back to zero. It's building a new starting point with everything you've learned along the way. Anyone who's survived a broken heart knows every step now is more calculated. Not out of fear, but wisdom. You start filtering who gets in and who stays out, because peace is worth more than company. The strength that comes in this process isn't the kind that shouts, but the one that stays quiet and steady, even when everything around feels uncertain. It's the confidence that if you survive that pain, you can get through any other storm. And interestingly, that strength draws different people and opportunities, more aligned with who you've become. This conscious restart also brings a new lightness. You learn to laugh at little things, say no without guilt, take better care of yourself. And suddenly, life feels like an open field, ready to be explored. Not with naivety, but with the courage of someone who knows exactly where they want to go. Topic 12. The subtle invitation to reconsider your own story. Sometimes, we catch ourselves looking back, trying to figure out where everything started to change. Maybe your story isn't exactly the same as what you just heard, but I bet some parts hit home. It's like certain phrases echo inside, reminding you that you've had your own goodbyes with no instruction manual. Rethinking your own path isn't about blaming yourself or anyone else. It's about asking, what was I feeling then? What didn't I see? The kind of reflection opens doors for wiser choices ahead. Because, in the end, the clarity you're searching for isn't in the past. It's in what you do with what you've learned. Maybe now's the time to finish that old conversation that has been left hanging, even if it is just with yourself. Or maybe to start something completely new. The important thing is realizing that the next chapter of your story is waiting. And it can be way more intentional than anything you've lived before. Conclusion. Losing someone without understanding why is one of the quietest pains there is. But as we saw, that process is made of tiny details, missed signs, and above all, a reunion with yourself. The absence that hurt also made space for growth, for the strength born from what was broken. And in the end, understanding that story is a crucial step for you to move forward, not just surviving, but living with more awareness and lightness. Your story goes on. And now, with the wisdom of someone who knows sometimes what looks like an ending is just a new beginning,